What's up, Inkie peeps? It's Del from Inkie Quill, and today we're doing a second video in my inspiration from a picture book series. It's a new series I started a little while ago, and you guys really seem to enjoy the first video, so I thought I would make another one using one of my favorite books. So this is a custom book where you put in your child's name and they print it into the book text, and you can choose the character's hair color and skin color and possibly outfit, no, not outfit for this one, to match your child's appearance. So this book is from a company called Papier. It's Papier, and it's an online company that I think traditionally do wedding invitations and cards and that type of thing. And it actually came up, I think, on Facebook as a suggested post, and I saw it and the illustrations just stole my heart. And oh, I love those little star sprinkles over there while floating. Well, I was floating, I'm saying floating because that boy is floating. Archer, I should say. While flipping through this book, I wasn't quite sure what I was going to do yet, and I saw this page that had all of the little houses. As I've said before in previous videos, I absolutely love maps and houses, and so that page really got me. I also loved this page with the balloons, and I thought of doing something with the hearts, but I've been doing quite a few heart things over here lately, so I wanted to give the hearts a rest. And so in the end, I decided to go with the colors of that little house page and combine it with the appearance of a different page. So I go back to the buildings. So I'm going with the look of the buildings, but in the color scheme of this house page. So I'm kind of going to combine the two. So play along at home. You can either use this book as inspiration or one of your own favorite books as inspiration. And just, you can pick anything from the book really. It could be the character, it could be a quote from the book, it could be the colors, it could be the style of illustration, anything. It's just using it as a source to kind of step off your page. In the end, your page could look nothing like the book, but it's a good starting off point, especially if you're stuck or you're feeling like your mojo's low, or you just need a little boost of confidence to get yourself started on an art journal page or a scrapbook page. I seem to really enjoy using these picture book inspirations in art journals. So I'm working in my junk journal today, and I'm using my Dilutions paints, and I have previously, before this video started, I prepped both of these pages with clear gesso just because I wasn't quite sure what I was doing on them, and that left hand page with the find a word is extremely thin. It is such thin paper, and I knew that if I put anything too liquidy on there like watercolor or mist, it would just be a disaster. So I am going through, and realistically I should have started with the back buildings and then painted the front buildings with white gesso first, and then painted the color over the top. But I decided to be difficult, and it made it take a little bit longer, and it made it a bit clunkier, but it, you know, in the end it works. It's a cute page. I also did the ground very awkwardly, which I'll show you when I get up to it. But we learn from our mistakes. This kind of style is different than my usual art journaling style. I usually don't go for painting like a scene, I guess, or yeah, like a landscape, but I thought I'd try something different. I'm using my Use It Up journal as a paint palette just so that I can slap some paint on another art journal page and have that done. And I've made this turquoisey color using the white and, or it could be the turquoise in the Dilutions paints possibly, or the bluey, the camp, is it Calypso teal? I think it's Calypso teal, and I always call it Campso because I read it wrong every time. I'm just going through, and off camera I just added a few more buildings because it was taking a little while to dry. So now I need to make a ground colour, and I decided to mix a bit of London blue with white just to make it a bit paler, because my night sky is going to be quite dark. So this is where things went a little uneven. And you can see here, because I've placed the buildings at the base of the buildings at different heights, you can tell that they're in the background. Now, I don't know what happened, but I completely ignored all of that and just did like a sloping hill. Why? Who knows? But it's barely sloping. So it just looks like I've done it really wonky. And then it looks like water, and it looks like the buildings are sinking. And so I do save it in the end. And look, oh, there we go. There's a bit of a watery sinking buildings with a slopey land. Yeah, it didn't really work, but I made it work in the end. And I did use my Posca paint pens towards the end of this video to even out the hills so that you could tell that they were hills and it didn't just look like I'd painted it really wrong. I'm adding any of my extra paint to my use it up journal just to get it in there and rather than waste it. And I'm just popping that down for a page on another day. I might actually do a Patreon video working in my use it up journal and actually showing you how real time how I finish off some of the pages that are already started. I might do that soon. So here I've come to my senses and grabbed a smaller paintbrush because I am very lazy and I didn't do that beforehand, but it would have been a lot handier when I was painting some of those buildings. I'm going through and I wanted the left hand side of the page that has the find a word sheet. I wanted to still leave some of those letters to be seen, and so I mix some of my paint with water and kind of make it ombre a little bit up to the top, and I really love the way that that looks. So that was a happy kind of discovery that I could do that. I'm adding some paint very carefully down the side, and I've got some baking paper, as I usually do, underneath this page just to kind of protect my previous pages and make sure that everything in this journal doesn't turn blue. I've got exciting news actually about junk journals. I am so close to finishing my online junk journal class. I am hoping that I can finish filming the last 4 or 5 videos maybe next week, and I'm hoping to have that out at the end of September. I'll have an early bird discount coupon code for anyone who buys it in the first 24 hours, but I'm also going to give you guys over here on Patreon an extra bonus if you'd like to take the class. So that will be out soon. So you can see there, yeah, on that left hand side, that ombre, how you can still see some of the letters. I really like the way that looks. Here I stupidly picked up a blue paint pen that's basically the exact same color as the watery ground, I'm going to call it, and it wasn't ever going to work, but I tried anyway. And so you can see by adding that green outline, it makes it look a little more hill-like, and I also do add some trees and flowers and things, so it comes along. This part I have sped up 4 times fast because it took me forever to draw all of these windows. Oh, it took me so long, and by the end of it my hand was a little bit crampy because I was stubborn and I wanted to do it all in one sitting rather than take a break or come back to it another day. I just wanted to get it all done, all of the windows. And so I'm kind of picking contrasting colors. So you can see with the aqua, I picked the pink because I knew it would really pop. And then with the light blue, I'm picking a darker color. So this powder dark blue, that worked out well. They're not perfectly straight, but I think that adds to the quirky, whimsical charm of this page. So I'm just going through, and some of them I do the same color outline for the building as I do the windows, and other ones I change it up and do 2 different colors. I was getting quite a lot of inspiration for the window shapes from the actual picture book page, because when you do something repetitive like this, you fall into the same patterns. It's like Zentangling, which, if you haven't heard of what that is, it's basically doodling within shapes. So it could be doodling within flower, like a flower petal, like different petals of the flower, or just making different patterns with lines and wiggles and strokes. And I tried it once and I found that I kept going back to the exact same like crosshatch or triangle patterns because it was what I was comfortable with. And I found that here I was also doing the same thing with the windows. So that's when I had a look at the book page just to see if there was some different things that I could do, also with the doorways as well, because quite typically I would just draw a door as a rectangle with a dot, whereas the doors in this picture book kind of had a few fancy awnings and things like that. I also did some, like here you can see I'm putting a triangle point on this building for a little bit of extra added drama, and then here I'm doing really long windows on this building just because I needed something different. A lot of the windows are wonky. That's okay, they're not even, and I really enjoyed changing up some of the colours on the same building as well. So I've got the yellow and the blue and some pink all on that one building. So I really enjoyed this page, and I think that we get very comfortable in a creative routine. When I do art journal pages, I really do have a set formula that I kind of follow. So I'll first prime the page. Of course, that step's not really included, but I'll prime the page and then I'll usually put down either some tissue paper or collage-y items and then paint, or vice versa, depending on what look I want. Then I'll go with stencils, and then I'll outline the stencils, and then I'll stamp, and then I'll have a focal image. I'll add some paint pen markings and then doodly bits. And it's the same formula over and over again. And I thought that by doing something different, I'm still using all of the same supplies that I usually would. I haven't done stencils or stamping actually on this page, but I'm still using the paints that I usually use, my paint pens, and similar colours that I would usually use. But just by using an inspiration piece, it can completely shift a page into a place that you usually wouldn't be able to reach just on your own, if that makes any sense. It kind of gives you a bit of a prompt to try something a little bit different, and I really like it. So I think I will continue to make these videos over here, maybe every 3 months we might have one, every 2 or 3 months, we'll see how we go. And I might even try using a picture book as an inspiration for a scrapbook page as well. We'll see how we go. I was going through my bookshelf and I found about 5 more books that I really love, and I'm really enjoying this, so I might film 2 more process videos soon and save those up maybe for like November, January, something like that. I'm going through, and with paint pens, I get a few questions about paint pens. I buy the Posca brand basically because they're a good price, considering here in Australia the Liquitex ones are quite pricey, and they're readily available at my local art shop, which is called Eckersley's, and I just think they have a good range of colours, but whatever you find is easiest to get wherever you live will work for you. Just be careful. I once bought, now what were they? Were they oil-based paint pens? I think I bought them specifically for a project. It could have been the 12 Days of Inkie, the Inkie 12 Days of Christmas over on YouTube. A couple of years ago, I used them to draw on some mugs, and they were oil-based. And I then tried to use them in my art journal, and they stunk. Oh, they were smelly. And B, they kind of bled and went really fuzzy. And so I would suggest to avoid the oil-based ones if you're working on paper. Just from my experience, most paint pens aren't, so that's easily done. So here you can see I've done all of my windows, and now my very sad looking watery hills were looking a little lonely, and so I decided they needed something. So I'm here, I'm trying to, while I'm doing these finishing details on the top of the buildings, I was looking at the picture book and there were some really cute triangle trees, and so I decided to replicate some of those onto the hill, and I outlined them just to give them a bit of extra emphasis. And then there were these really tiny tulips, and I wanted to try and copy them, so I did some yellow and pink, and then just did some really little leaves, as well as some tiny little marks on the grass to kind of replicate that it was grass and wasn't water, because to me it still just looks like water. I'm doing these little dashes now here with my favorite, probably my favorite color of paint pen, that aquarine color. And then the sky was looking a little lonely, not lonely. It was looking a little lonely, so I decided to do some clouds, some very cartoony clouds. And then thinking back to that page that had Archer and the astronauts floating in space, there were yellow and pink stars in the background, and so I wanted to include those in the background here as well. And I think that really helped bring the page, just those little pink asterisk stars and the little yellow dots in the sky really helped bring the page all together. So here, this last little bit I'm doing is I decided to just use my black paint pen, and I just wrote imagine, and I'm all done. So please let me know if you enjoyed this video, and if you thought that I did a good job using the book as inspiration. I can definitely see that page is just very obvious how much inspiration there is from those buildings. And then here, I really like the color palette that I pulled from this page. The dark blue sky, I think, really helps the buildings pop. So thanks so much for watching today, peeps, and I'll have a video for you in only 2 days, is it? Because we've got 30 days this month, or do we have 31? 30 days. So you'll have a new video on the 1st. Don't forget to save your printables. Must save your printables because they're getting deleted tomorrow. So save them. Go back now and save all of the printables so that you don't miss out. All right, guys, I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.